Boom ba-dum bum ba-dum bum bum ba-dum bum bum bum. I don't know if my voice is normal. Okay, alright. Well, here's one go of this video. I am responding to the prompt to Reza to make a video about my childhood. So what I decided was pretty much I looked through my old room growing up, and I moved halfway, so I looked through my bedroom that I stayed in ever since I was like 10 years old. So I was walking around trying to find inspiration, and I walked into my closet and I saw that I still had my old bookcase. So pretty much I have a lot of books here, maybe like, I don't know, like 12 books or something. Each one is separated in different categories. So the first book I'm going to talk about is the first book. I can't say it's the first book I ever read. The first books I've ever read is like biscuit books. But there was one book in particular that was pretty long, and it was like the first major book that I read. And I remember reading this with my dad, and the book is called What the Witch Left. I don't remember much, but pretty much it's about like these two kids. One of these kids, they have an aunt, and she has like this closet, and they go like rummaging around, and they find all this magic stuff. And yeah, I don't remember much besides that, but I think things can like teleport back and forth or something. Or they can go invisible, something like that. So yeah, that's What the Witch Left. Let's see. The next book is Scranimals. Yeah, I really like this book. I actually still, to this day, still like this book. Okay, so well, to be fair, the art is a little creepy, but it's also like really cute. Like all these Scranimals, especially like the koala slash flower, I think. And there's like the flying elephant, and then there's a porcupine that's also half pineapple, which is cute. And then there's like a potato frog. Yeah, I don't know. I really like this book. Yeah, it's really cute. Mixing animals together, mixing animals with vegetables slash fruit, and it's a cute book. So yeah, so the first section is pretty much like kind of like childhood, cute picture books, and the first major book I read. The next section is kind of like, I think when I was able to start to read more, I started getting into like some self-help books. For example, I have a book here, it's called A Smart Girl's Guide to Money, How to Make It, Save It, and Spend It. Yeah, I honestly don't remember much, but it's probably some things like, oh, you should save money. I think there's something in there about like putting your money in CDs. Probably also something about like making sure you record your purchases and like try to make an income. I don't know. I don't really know how like a 10-year-old is supposed to make an income. The only thing I did when I was 10 years old was I think like sell lemonade, and we only made like, I don't know, like $1. And it was me and another person, so we had to split that dollar. But there was a kind, I remember selling lemonade with my friend, and there was a kind man who would walk like in our neighborhood. And our neighborhood wasn't like on a busy area. It was like a secluded place. So the only people we could like gravel for money for were our neighbors. And yeah, and there's one neighbor who was walking around, and we managed to use our 10-year-old puppy eyes, and he paid $1 for a little gulp of lemonade, which now in retrospect, like, that was pretty cool of him. Like at the time I thought I was like, yeah, like of course we like, you know, like our product's so good and everyone should be coming. But now in retrospect, I'm thinking, wow, this man really went out of his way to give us $1 for probably not really good lemonade. Now the next thing that I actually thought was pretty fun to find in my bookshelf was this like puberty book. It's called It's Perfectly Normal, Changing Bodies, Growing Up, Sex, and Sexual Health. Yeah, I remember growing up, my mom would read this to me, and this was when I was like 10, 11 years old. We were like, me and my mom growing up, like we would sleep like next to each other. So she would read me this book like every couple of nights, and I remember not thinking very much of it. I was just like, oh, okay, this is like people changing their bodies, and like there's a lot of like hand-drawn pictures of like people being naked, and I was like, wow, like I didn't know like people looked like that under there. And they also had like these really cute things. My favorite part of this book was actually all like the comic strip stuff. I didn't really care for like all the boobs and the other stuff, but there were like comic strip stuff called like The Bird and the Bee. I thought that was really cute. They had also, my favorite comic strips were like about periods, and pretty much like I think it was like the egg was like like it was like made into like a person, and then like like you would see like, oh, like it's time for like the egg to like be released and then like go down the fallopian tube, and so they would have like the comic strips about that. So that was pretty cool. And then so they would have installments of these comic strips. First, like about like how the egg would go down, and then about how like the sperm would go, and then like how they would meet, and then how the pregnancy would happen. And I remember I'd always go back to read those comic strips because I thought they were like so cute and funny. It didn't really register as a reality. It was just like, oh, there's these cute characters called like the egg and the sperm. So yeah, that's a good section. I have more books. Okay, let's get into it then. Let me see. So the next section of my life, I would say, is called like the long-ish books about cute animals. Yeah, and so one book I have here is called I, Freddy. It's pretty much about this hamster who can talk, and how this hamster managed to be like bought by his owner, and finds a way to communicate. Well, actually, wait, no, he can't talk. That's actually the whole premise, that he can't talk. It's more like he can write or read or something. Yeah, I think, yeah, this hamster can read. Yeah, he can read and he can write. And he tries to get messages to his owner, and then eventually, like, his owner, like, buys a new computer, and he, like, writes a message on the keyboard, and it's really cute, and the owner's like, whoa, I have a reading, spelling hamster. So yeah, that's I, Freddy. The next one is Ginger Pie. Ginger Pie is about this cute dog. He looks like a ginger snap. His owners is, like, this girl and her older brother, like siblings. Let me see. Yeah, it's a good book. It's pretty much about like how like their dog goes missing and they can't find him, and turns out like there's like this like bad person who kidnapped the dog and keeps him at his house, and then eventually like the kids find him, and they're really happy about it. There's also a bunch of other cute stuff, like this dog is super smart and like manages to like follow those kids to school, like without like directly following them, but like manages to like figure out where they are based on like their smell or something. But yeah, it's a cute book about a cute dog doing cute stuff and / smart stuff that you wouldn't expect a normal dog to do. Yeah, so that's Ginger Pie. Let me see. Next one is Mr. Popper's Penguins. This guy, he is... What did he do? He painted houses. And then one day he, like, managed to get all these penguins. And then what he does, he really puts out his family by, like, making his house, like, perfect for penguins. Like, they make their basement, like, this ice rink. They make it super cold. And then, like, they buy fish. And then maybe he makes a business out of it by making like letting people like look at the penguins. But yeah, I remember it was a cute book about like, even though like a lot of bad things were happening to them, like it was like the wintertime and like their windows were broken, they managed to make the best out of it, because what happened was like, because it was so cold, like the penguins had a good time, and even the humans, they were really cold, they just bundled up and played with the penguins. So yeah, that's what I remember most. Yeah. Okay. So the next section of books, I would say, is like pretty much about, I guess, like relationship characters, but they're also slightly annoying. There's like Super Fudge, which is about like this 4-year-old kid, little brother that's like super annoying, goes missing, and his brother has to find him. Let's see. Next one is the Babysitter's Club. There's like, I have like 5 other books of the Babysitter's Club. I picked this one in particular because I think I like this one the most. It was pretty much the most dramatic one because it was about like Claudia and her like dating some guy. And yeah, I remember I liked this book, but pretty much is I honestly don't remember. But looking at the cover and saying that this wasn't exactly what Claudia had in mind, probably means this guy was probably like a jerk, and yeah. Dating life. And I was pretty much reading this when I was like 12 or something, so I didn't really know like anything about this world, but I guess I was really curious at the time. And which is really emphasized in the next book, which is Life, Love, and the Pursuit of Free Throws. I think this was just like perfect for me at the time. I was playing basketball, and I was also interested in like romantic drama, and I think it's probably about 2 girls playing basketball fighting over this guy. That's most likely what happened. I really don't remember what happened, but by the cover it looks like that. All right. So the next couple of books I'll be talking about are books that came a little bit later in my childhood, probably when I was about 13, 14, when I was able to read these books. But looking back at my childhood, these are actually some of my favorite books, even though they came a little bit later in my life, and I wasn't able to really read them or comprehend them before I was 13, for example. So, for example, the first book I'll be talking about is A Little Princess. This is one of my favorites. It's a little cliche, to be honest, but at the time, I didn't think of it much as like a trope or anything. I just really enjoyed it because it made like a really magical story, and it was really like emotional. So anyway, getting to the summary, A Little Princess. It's pretty much about this girl. Her name is Sarah. Coincidentally enough. And so what happens is she's a rich girl in England, and she goes to this boarding school while her father goes to India to manage some diamond mine. The book doesn't really go much into her father's background, but pretty much, so she's very wealthy. She goes to this boarding school, and the headmistress takes care of her, but takes care of her in a way that's pretty much sucking up to her and trying to make as much money off of this little princess as possible. But what happens is on Sarah's birthday, it turns out that her father died in the diamond mines. And unfortunately, the headmistress had been paying out of her own pocket for a lot of Sarah's expenses, a lot of her dresses. They had like a huge spread for her birthday. And so suddenly, on a day that was like very like luxurious for her, very expensive, suddenly she realized that she was an orphan. Her mom was dead at the time, so her mom was not in this picture. And this headmistress, who realized she lost a lot of money, decided that suddenly she needed to get that back, and the only way she could get that back was to make this girl, who was one of the girls that went to the boarding school, suddenly she became a slave to the headmistress. And her room was gone. She moved into the attic. All her clothes, everything beautiful she had was gone. All she had was like a tight little black dress that she could barely fit in, and her most precious doll. And it's a really cute story. It's sad, when she's the slave, and she loses a lot of her friends, a lot of the people that were really jealous of her, of all the attention she had before. Suddenly they had ways to mistreat her and like get back at her for, I guess, like her previous old wealth. But she maintains some friendships, and in the end, it's really exciting that what happens. It's pretty much. So her father, he had a business partner, and this business partner was supposed to take care of Sarah if anything were to happen to her father. And his business partner was also in India, but he didn't end up dying, which I guess is good. But the problem was, even though he didn't die, he lost a lot of his memory in the diamond mine accident. So when he went back to England, he knew that he had a responsibility to find this little girl, but he couldn't find her. But miraculously enough, he was living very close to the boarding school, and they managed to find each other by a lot of coincidences, and Sarah's kindness to other people. Even though Sarah was really rich and wealthy, she was also very kind. So that was another really beautiful part of the story. So by the end, she becomes wealthy again, and the headmistress, I don't know, I guess she gets a really bad Yelp review, but yeah, I think she does not see Sarah afterward. So that's one of my favorite books. And another one is Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry by Mildred D. Taylor. It's a great book. And I remember before I actually started reading it when I was around 12, I tried reading this book and just really couldn't get past the language. How it was so dense, and the language was difficult. But I remember around 14, I started reading it again, and it's a really great book. It's about this family that's living through the segregation period, And during the segregation period, they try to go to school as other children. I remember because of their skin color, they were either they were deeply discriminated against by their other their white peers. And yeah, it's still a really great book, but I definitely remember being emotional and really interesting because it was something that I only read in history books and never really could empathize with until I actually read this book. So yeah, that was my book review. I hope you enjoyed it. Sorry it's a little bit long. But yeah, I covered a lot of books from different ages of my life. And yeah, I hope it was interesting, delightful, and fun. Yeah. And I'll talk to you later, Reza. Bye-bye.